Today we're going to be talking about the pistol squat. Pistol squat is the hardest squat to learn. Importantly, we have to talk about how to counteract the weight and balance on one leg. Before we dive into the pistol squat, if you have any knee or ankle issues, I suggest pushing the pistol squat off until you solve those areas. The first thing we need to talk about is assessing your body. We're going to start from the bottom and work up. So we're going to talk about our ankles first. One of the best assessments is doing a knee to wall or knee to box test. So what you want to do is find a box or a wall. We're going to put one foot up towards the box. You're going to come a half step back. My goal is to get my knee to touch this box without having my foot come off the ground. So as I come forward, I'm going to let my knee try and hit that box. From here, I have pretty good ankle mobility. As you can see, my back foot is still on the ground. Now, looking back at all, if my ankle comes off that floor at any point, even in the beginning, or as I'm coming down to touch that box with my knee, that means you really need to go back and work on your mobility and your flexibility with your ankle. All right, now working up from our ankles, we're gonna talk about our hips. So we're gonna do something called the ABH assessment, which involves doing a squat with one leg over top of your knee, floating position. From here, I'm going to slowly lower myself down and try to hit parallel. Now, this is a very hard movement to do. It involves a lot of balance, but it's the start to see if my hips are going to be tilting or I'm going to lean forward, backwards, and going through that mobility in our hips. If you have issues at doing this at first and find yourself falling all over the place, don't be afraid to go up to a wall or a rig. Put your hands up and then try the same thing again and use it as a balance, but don't try and use it as a safety guide. Keep your hands here, just using your fingertips, and I want you to sink and try and sit as low as you can, okay? From there, if you see that your hips are going back and forth or that your ankle is starting to hurt on your shin, that's another indicator that your hips are either super tight and need work on or that your ankles also need more work. So, starting again from the ground up. So what we're gonna do is first, we're gonna kneel down on one knee. Left leg's gonna go out front, okay? From here, as I'm kneeling, I'm gonna do the same exact stretch that I did from my knee to box stretch, but I'm gonna be able to control this a lot more while being down on the floor. From here, I'm gonna put my right hand down and I'm going to lean forward until I feel that nice stretch, making that dorsiflexion happen, bringing my ankle closer to my shin, trying to keep my heel down. Now you wanna stay here for around 15 to 30 seconds. You can do sets of 3 if you want, but you only wanna stay here. If you go any farther past here, it's actually gonna hurt you a little bit more, okay? You don't wanna go past pain, remember, okay? Now next, after we do a couple of sets of those for, like again, 15, 30 seconds, we can sit down. What we're gonna do then, we're just gonna hug our left leg, okay? When I hug my left leg, I wanna keep this leg straight, not letting it move back and forth. From here, I'm gonna work on flexing and rotating my foot in both clockwise and counterclockwise. So let's go clockwise first. I'm gonna roll around, come all the way through, all the way back to the top. Then I'm gonna go the opposite direction and back up. This can be done 2 to 3 times on both legs. Next, we're gonna talk about our hips. 2 stretches we're gonna talk about are the frog stretch and the pigeon stretch. So I'm gonna use my right leg this time. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get up in that kneeling position again. From here, I'm gonna bring my leg to the floor. Now keep in mind, before I get into this, this is a very hard position to get into with people with tight hips. So it is okay if you can't get your leg to the ground or you can't make a parallel line with your leg. So bring your leg back then, okay? Bring your foot close to your hip. From here, I'm gonna try and make sure that my hips are squared. And sitting right here, you're gonna get a pretty good stretch. Now, if you wanna get a little bit more into it, you can walk those hands out, okay? Lay down in the front position and feel even bigger stretch. Now, just like our ankle stretch, this can be done 2 to 3 times, holding 15 to 30 seconds on both legs. Moving forward to our frog stretch, what you're going to do is you're gonna come up to all fours. Hands are gonna be flat. I'm gonna focus on widening my legs until I feel a nice stretch in between my legs. From here, I'm also going to turn my feet out flat in the back. Make sure that your feet aren't way out to the side. Make sure that they're in line with our knees coming here. Now from here, I'm going to sit back and feel a nice stretch right here in my hip flexors and my groin. And what you can do is the same thing. You could sit here for 15, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 to 3 sets. The first movement in the progressions we're going to be talking about is the air squat. To get set up, we're going to be shoulder width apart, okay, with our stance. Okay, our toes aren't gonna be turned out way too wide. They're not gonna be turned too far in. They're gonna be pointed at 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Now from here, what I'm gonna focus on is I'm trying to get as low as possible. I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna have my hands out in front of me. I'm going to sit back in my squat as low as I can. From here, I'm gonna pause for a second, then stand all the way back up and make sure you squeeze your butt at the top. Now, as we're doing this, you should be doing around 3 sets of 10. You should be focusing on getting as low as you can as possible, even if it's too parallel. As we move forward, the next squat we have is the close feet squat. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start moving our feet in closer, okay? So I suggest going 1 to 2 inches, nothing more, take your time. So from here, I'm shoulder width, I'm gonna move in about 1 inch. From here, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna go slow, go as low as I can, pause for a second, then stand back up. Then I'm gonna move in again. As I squat down, you're gonna notice that my back is gonna start rounding forward as I get closer to the bottom. Remember, this isn't a weight room squat. This is a body squat. So it's okay at first that your body's starting to round forward in this movement. So as I'm going forward, I'm gonna keep moving my feet in closer. Squat down, hold at the bottom, stand back up. So eventually, your feet are gonna be touching together. Now, why this is such an important movement is when I get down there and I'm sitting in this bottom position, this is the exact position you're gonna be in, or the feeling you're gonna be in, that dorsiflexion and the weight in the middle of your feet when you're performing that pistol. If I were to bring my one leg up, I'd be able to stand up and hit that nice pistol and then stand up tall. So again, just like those air squats, when I said you need to do at least 3 sets of 10, you should be able to do the same thing with this movement, going all the way down. Having full control is super important when doing this movement. So moving on with our progressions, we're gonna talk about different ways to work with the eccentric lowering into this squat of a pistol. So what we're gonna do first is you can grab a box, you can grab a bench, doesn't matter the height for right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna step up with 1 foot at a time. So we're up on top of this box. I'm gonna focus to get my foot planted first. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my leg off to the side. Okay, this is gonna first work on our flexibility as well as our strength and balance. Our goal first is to let our foot be floating off to the side. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna slowly lower until my foot hits the floor. So hands are gonna be out in front. You can see my back is arching, which is fine. I'm creating that nice pistol form right here, getting that dorsal flexion happening. Once I hit the floor, I can stand back up, or what you can do is when you're on the bottom, you can just step off and reset yourself going through it. Now, once you can do this, and you can do it at least 5 to 10 times, and you're fully in control, you're not falling off the box on both legs, you're gonna get a little bit more intense by lifting up the leg and actually trying to get to a pistol, or just moving your foot on the floor to be more in front of the block as we're going. So what I'm gonna do is the same thing, stand up, find my footing, foot's gonna come in front. I'm gonna slowly lower this. First time I'm gonna lower and let my foot go a little bit farther in front this time to land in front of the box. So 1 progression. Now to make it even harder, I'm gonna focus on lifting my leg up higher as I fall down to try and hit that full pistol squat. So I'm falling down, coming down, coming down. Now when I get here, I'm gonna try and lift my leg up to work on holding that bottom position, finding out where I'm weak at, if it's my hip falling around, if my leg's not strong enough to keep up. From there, I can either stand up to the top, or I can do what we talked about before, step down and reset. Once we get these under control, you have the balance, you have the strength to do at least 5 of these in control on both legs. We're gonna talk about doing a pistol squat, sitting down onto the box. This is one of my favorite movements, one of my favorite progressions going forward, because you can scale this in so many ways. We can start with the boxes up high, and then work our way down slowly. So from here, what I'm gonna do is I can start with 1 leg. This time I'm gonna use my left leg. I'm gonna stand up tall. I'm gonna have my foot in front of me. I'm gonna pretend that I'm gonna go into that pistol until my butt hits that box, okay? Fully sit, and then stand back up, okay? This is where you're starting. Start high, start working your way down. Again, I like to say sets of 5 to 10 to really understand the movement to perfection. So what I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna lower the boxes down. So from here, I can lower them down, go a little bit lower. From here, I'm standing again, same leg, foot comes out in front. From here, I'm going to slowly lower down until my butt hits that box. I'm gonna sit comfortably, then stand back up. Again, once I'm able to do those movements, I'm gonna go even lower. Just take 1 box off this time. The goal is to try and go all the way down to the bottom and so you are actually performing that pistol squat. So again, stand in front of that box, stand up tall, leg out in front. I'm gonna start sitting down, my hands are out in front. It's okay that my back is arching through. Then I sit on that box, stand all the way back up. Now, again, like I said, you're working your way all the way down to the bottom, so I can go down even lower. Or once I even get comfortable enough here, I'm gonna move the box, and then I can try attempting from there if I want to. But I suggest going through the next progressions I have before you try doing a pistol squat on your own. Our next step is called the toe squat. I'm gonna take my left leg, it's gonna be my base leg. I'm gonna take my right leg, I'm gonna put it right behind my left leg, put my toe on that ground. Okay, from here, I'm gonna perform a squat. Sit back, hands out in front. I'm gonna squat until my butt hits my heel and then stand straight back up. You notice now, going forward, you can see, like I talked about earlier, we're putting more weight on our foot. As I'm sinking down, I'm hitting that position where I have that nice dorsal flexion and my ankle and my shin. As I'm leaning, putting more weight forward. And then I'm gonna stand back up, squeeze at the top. So I suggest we focus on doing 6 to maybe 8 reps of each motion on both legs, making sure that you have it down perfectly before we move forward. Our next step is called the floater squat. So same thing, I'm gonna use my left leg as a base again. From here, I'm gonna take my right leg and I'm gonna try and hook the back of my calf. Now, I would go in the middle of your calf. Okay, if I go too high, you're gonna be on your knee, it's gonna be harder to squat. If I go too low, it's gonna be almost like I'm doing that toe squat again. So right in the middle. From here, I'm gonna perform my squat again, sit back. I'm gonna sit as low as I can. I'm taking my time, focusing on my balancing. Slow, stay up tall, and stand up, squeeze the butt. I want you to try and do 6 to 8 reps on each leg perfectly before you move forward. All right, guys, we made it to the end of the progressions. Now we're gonna try and perform that pistol squat. Pick a base leg. For me, I'm gonna pick my right leg. From here, I'm gonna take my left foot, I'm gonna bring it in front of me, floating off the floor. From here, my hands are gonna be out in front of me. I'm going to take my time. I really don't want you guys to fall straight to the bottom and then try and work your way up. Show me that you have control. So I'm gonna have my foot out in front. I'm gonna slowly lower, okay? It's okay that my back is rounding. I'm gonna get to that bottom position, the pistol, hold for a second, and then explode up to the top. All right, guys, that's the pistol squat for you. Now, about training though, I suggest that you work on that mobility every single day. The more you do it, the better it's gonna help you in this pistol squat. With the progressions we just talked about, you can do it 3 to 4 times a week. You have everything in front of you. I wish you guys the best. Good luck.